Hello and welcome to Gravity Enterprise. This is brought to you by Mass. In this recording, I'm going to run through a sequence related to managing preventative maintenance. In a previous recording, we looked at how to set up space, maintenance and workflows, otherwise known as service level agreements or SLAs. So I'm not going to cover those here, but look at our YouTube channel if you want to see those. The first thing to mention is that you can set up each user with a security level, allowing access only to the functionality that you want them to have. Here, we assume that the user has an administrator, manager, or supervisor level, which you can establish depending on how your team works. At a high level, the steps are set up the background data. So that's tools, parts, trades, problems types, those types of data in the background. Set a preventive maintenance plan and define a schedule for that plan. So if I go to preventive maintenance, in manage locations, you see in here the options to establish your data that you need. You'll see that our locations here are already established. So we've got a site name, building name, floors within the building, and rooms within that floor. One of the first things you want to do is set up your trades. The data is hierarchical, so you need to do this before you manage technicians. So you see I've already set up 3 levels of trade. You can click the add button to add a new one. And I've just selected some standard trades of plumber, electrician and general. The next thing to do is to manage teams. And you can see here I've set up 3 team types. So the first 2 of these are users of the facility. So there's a client team and a technical team that belong to Mass. And I've also set up a maintenance team, which is a technician type. So these technicians are the people that we're going to use to manage our maintenance. So if I go to manage technicians, you see we've set up some dummy technician details. Obviously, these aren't people's surnames. You'd expect them to be doing this sort of job if it really was, but you know. So these are people that we've applied then. So I've got one in each of the primary trade areas, for example. You can obviously have as many of these you like. And again, the add button appears in the top right so that you can add new ones. So you've got your trades, you've got your teams, you've got technicians. The way to link these together is you can assign teams to the technicians. So if I pick one of the technicians, this guy is in, has a team code of maintenance is in the technician type. And you find the same for the next one. And the last one we haven't yet assigned to a type. And you'll see the available teams, so I could add him to the maintenance team if I wanted to. So that's our technicians, teams, and trades set up. So when we start to assign activities, we've got some people to assign them to. The activities that we're going to do are going to be based around problem types. So if I manage problem type, you see I've got some set up here. So for example, we've got some preventive maintenance problem types. We've got some water-based problem types, leaks, supply, spill, for example, the kind of things you might want to go and check. So these are the repeating jobs which need to be performed on a particular schedule, for example. The other thing we can do in here is we can manage asset standards, and we can create the assets based on these standards. So we've got some default standards in here for sinks, fire extinguishers, projectors, fire emergency exit. And within those standards, we can have assets. So we've got, for example, 4 fire extinguishers here, asset codes FE1234. You can do the same kind of thing for parts. So you can put these parts in here and you can manage types of tools, and the actual tools, again, you assign those to whatever the tool types are. So those things, the functionality all works in the same way. So to set up a schedule, the first thing we need to do is set up a plan. So if I go into the background data for PM, preventive maintenance, manage the plans, you'll see I've set up some plans here already. If I look at, say, the fire extinguisher check, the plan type is asset because it's performed on an asset rather than a building or a room. A step in here is that you would, let's say, for example, check the date, and the instructions that you'd give the technician are to check the date hasn't expired, and you could put some instruction in here about what action to take if it hasn't. If you're doing something a bit more complicated or need to detail how they do that check, you could put documents in here, for example, a manual for that asset. Along with that part of the plan, you can determine what type of trade can perform the plan. So this is checking a fire extinguisher date. It doesn't need any special skills, so it can be a general trade type. If you need any tools, you can assign these here, and any parts, you can assign these here. So this all links together. Obviously, the data behind all this is in a common data environment, so it's all linked together. So that's the plan set up. Once that's set up, we can then link that plan to a location or to an asset, or the other way around. So we can link the asset to a plan. So if I take the example of the fire extinguisher check, this is the plan, and you can see the assets associated with that plan. And you'll notice those fire extinguishers 1, 2, 3 are within the plan. Fire extinguisher 4 is something I've added more recently, so that's not in the plan. So I just select it and link it. And there you see it's now linked with that fire extinguisher check plan. So now we've got the plans in place, we've got the assets connected to the plan, we can now define a schedule. So you will see, this wasn't here before, this highlighted line here, fire extinguisher check, it's recognised that we've got an asset code associated with the fire extinguisher plan. So FE4 now appears, tells us where it is as well. And that's the schedule. So when you reach a trigger date for the schedule, a job will be launched. And when the job is launched, it will follow a standard SLA for the problem type. So if I show you SLAs, define an SLA. So within the SLA, you can determine what happens to the job type. So you might do nothing with it at all, and it might just sit in a supervisor's queue, and they will then go and work on that job and put it through to completion. What you can alternatively do is you can automatically approve the job, you can automatically issue the job, and you can issue it to a particular technician or a particular team. So this makes automation much easier. So this will automatically happen when the job needs doing based on a trigger. The other thing you can do as an alternative, maintenance manager, you can generate the requests. So you can generate all the requests that need to happen in a particular time period. So if I tell it's going to happen for the next month, you can define this. If I defined FE4, so because I know that's a new asset, it will generate everything required associated with the asset. So if I now look at the request console, you'll see in the request console there's a number of requested tasks, there's a number of approved tasks, there's a number that are already in process, and there's some completed. So what will happen when that generation happens, so that's going to happen in the background, kind of any time now, but it happens not instantly, but in the background, that will appear in the requested list, unless the SLA says to auto approve it, and then it'll appear in the approved list. If it's set to auto issue, it'll appear in the in process list. So that explains how to establish a preventive maintenance plan from scratch. It's only taken a few minutes to do that. It's really easy to do. Everything you want to do in here is entirely configurable for yourselves to suit your environment, your teams, your assets, your buildings. If you want to know more about the capabilities of gravity, then please do let us know.